Before we leave that,
Okay. Hello?
a third Jeff.
Hey, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Are there
how
three of you right now? Or okay, I get it. I thought that this third Jeff was pre-recorded.
No, this is how I like, if I have to travel in my basement and I'm doing the show, I just hop on my phone. So first of all, here's the Liz Gruesome art. That's Liz Gruesome's art.
Is this Romeo's Distress?
Yeah.
Dude, I've never seen that.
I'll send you a screener.
Word, I'd love to see it. Thank you.
Thank you for your interest. So my son comes. This is my base. Oh, you'll like this too, Joe. I showed this on my last. You like that, Joe? I'm sure you dig that.
What are you, Chuck Biscuits, bro?
I just, man, they came out in 2014. I ate all the cereal and I stuffed the boxes up, you know. But wait. Here's what I wanted to show you. Okay, so my son comes down into the basement. This is like my office. Oh, you'll like this too. This is the last thing.
How old is your son now?
He's 5. So
sorry,
he comes down into the basement and he walks in. This is the first thing that he sees. Can you see that?
Yeah.
He sees my posters, or he sees this one too, right?
That's awesome.
And so he goes, "Daddy, who is that?" He goes, "Daddy, what is that? Daddy, what is that?" And I start to tell him, like the story of Return of the Living Dead. I tell it to him like a little kid, and I point out the characters. He goes, "Daddy, who's that?" I go, "That's Freddy." He goes, "Who's that?" "That's Tarman." I don't want him to know the name Suicide, so we call him Susu. He's Susu. And so I point out all the different names, and he's named. Oh, that's Scuzz. That's Casey. That's Chuck. He knows all the characters. And then
That's awesome.
I tell him the story of how I'd say Freddie and Frank were sitting in their office, and all of a sudden, Freddie asked Frank what the weirdest thing he's ever seen is. And my son,
I'll tell you, the weirdest thing I ever saw is. You ever seen that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Living Dead? Yeah, that's the one with the zombies taking over the world. And you see this right here? So he thinks that's where the Tarman lives. He thinks the Tarman lives in that tank. And so
I've seen weird things come, and I've seen weird things go. Weirdest thing I ever did see.
But he is terrified of the Tarman, and he's never. I told him this. I said, "You can watch the movie. You can watch the movie when you turn 10 years old, because that's how old I was when I saw it. But I'm not going to let you see it until then."
My girlfriend's 5-year-old kids have seen that movie before.
Yeah.
And the only thing, we just fast forward through the trash scene. And to be completely honest with you, I have 5-year-old nieces and nephews, and they can't watch Gremlins.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's kids can watch anything. It's amazing. They're afraid of nothing. I don't know what it is, but no problem with Return of the Living Dead. They've seen it once, I believe. It's not a regular, of course, but they begged to see it based on the cover, so I did not show it to them.
Yeah, but what happens is he asked me 100 questions about who. Hold on, I got an echo.
And nothing else. Like, of all the things in your room, that's the. Is it eye level? That like, you know?
He just, dude.
It's cartoony looking, maybe.
He just saw it one day, and he goes, "Dad, what?" Yeah, maybe it was eye level, but he sees it one day, and he goes, "Dad, what is that? Why? What is that?" And he just asked me 100 questions. And you know what that is? You know what that is, Joe? That's kinder trauma. I know, because I had it. And what kinder trauma is, it's when you're terrified and absolutely captivated and absorbed at the same time, and you ask 100,000 questions, even though it scares the crap out of you. And you know, I'm dying to show it to him.
Yeah.
He's just too young, bro. He likes Little Shop of Horrors. He loves Audrey too.
Feed me.
Yeah. Oh, he sings the songs, man. He knows it all. But like,
do you remember what got you into horror movies? Or like, do you remember the first time you were scared? Or like, do you remember like where, or not even what got you into horror movies, but where your fascination with scary began?
So for me, can you hear me? by the way?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, it begins in a few different places. I always like spooky stuff, always. For me, it started, I remember TBS, my parents' house,
Up all night.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space, what something like that. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, where the girl is in the yellow floating balloon and the clown is laughing with his really sharp teeth. That was at 6. That was like a moment of kinder trauma. Then there was the X-Files episode with the fireflies, which is kind of like whatever, not even that scary. The fireflies that wrap everybody up in the cocoon. Then there was Tales from the Crypt with the dragon tattoo that bursts out through the chest. And then the big one, the two big ones, the two ones that really are like the titans for me. One was Night of the Living Dead, which I saw at about probably 9-10 years old. The original 1968 Night of the Living Dead. Great, but didn't scare me. It was the Sci-Fi Channel. Remember Sci-Fi, but when it was spelled with the Y, it wasn't. Yeah, Sci-Fi. And I'm in the basement of my parents' house.
It's not spelled with a Y anymore.
No,
it's SCI now.
They phonetically spell it out. It's SCIFI.
Go on.
And I'm watching on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I all of a sudden the movie is about halfway over, and the ground is soaked with water, and I think the water is trickling down towards someone's feet inside of a coffin. And I take a VHS tape. This was 1995, I think. I take a VHS tape and I pop it in and I start recording immediately. And I tape the second half of the TV edited version of Return of the Living Dead.
Wow, dude, do you know how lucky you are to have caught that? Like historically, that was only on TV a couple times, dude.
No, it wasn't, dude. It was on HBO like crazy.
In what year?
Going back to the 80s.
Bro, at first that was only on a couple times, man.
They used to show.
I could say later that it sure.
But I wore that tape out. I wore the tape out. I watched that same half of the movie over and over and over again. And then finally I went to Video Ranger, the local video store, and I saw the cover. And I was like, whoa, there's like so much blood. Like it was the back, when Scuzz gets his head bit off.
What cover was it? Just the two zombies of the tombstone, or what cover?
Yeah, it was the two zombies of the tombstone, and then on the back it's the boarded up mortuary. With it's mostly writing on the back, and then it's that scene. And so I watched that, and that was the first time that I saw half corpses like nipples, because and the thing was the rope was yellow in the edited TV edited version. In the original version, the rope is red because it's all bloody or whatever. And I watched the movie from start to finish, and I was floored. The Tarman, everything, the whole thing. And I'll tell you, Joe, of all the movies that I've watched in my life, and I'll tell you, every time it was summer and it started raining, I would be terrified because I was afraid that the dead were going to rise and eat my brains. And they're smart. They're not Romero zombies. They're smart zombies, and they're going to come out.
They're going to run.
Put the ladders up climb up the ladder and get me and pull me out. And there was something about the fact that they ate brains and that they were conscious. It was terrifying to me. And so I would Return of the Living Dead. I try to think about another movie I saw when I was 10 was Rocky.
I'm sorry, had you seen Night first?
Yeah, I think I saw Night first. Then I saw Rotold, Return of the Living Dead. And I also saw Rocky Horror, which also, I won't get into all that, but Rocky Horror was another movie that, oh my God, it was like, that was my first exposure to cult. That just
it.
like,
Still hate it.
Dude, that movie has a special place, but probably Rocky Horror, Return of the Living Dead, and maybe, yeah, I'd say those two movies I've probably seen, especially Return of the Living Dead. Every time I would have a girl over at my house to, hang out with.
How many times has your wife seen it?
She's only made it 45 minutes into it one time.
What? All right, go on.
My wife hates horror movies. Hates them. Understand, bro, my wife fought in a war. She fought in the Second Lebanon War. She's seen some gnarly. She doesn't care. She hates that stuff. it's all funny.
Return is yeah, it's a horror movie, I guess. But I mean, like, that's what I love about Return is that it's just as much not a horror movie.
It's a well, it's also, but that's what's so brilliant about it is that
it's the epitome of horror comedy.
Yeah, it's oh my God, yes. And what's amazing is I've watched that movie. I legitimately want to say I've watched that movie over countless times, 200 times, 300 times. I can't tell you how many times I watched it. And every single time I never get sick of watching it. And B, like the last time I watched it and I got the Scream Factory edition. I own it 3 times on.
I had more than 3.
I have the DVD, the 2002 release from MGM, and I was blown away when that came out. That I remember
the original cover.
Yeah, and that blew me away. And then I have that crappy Blu-ray that came out, and then I have the
slimy looking goldy one.
Yeah, that thing's terrible. And then
well, it's got the commentary on that one.
Well, the Scream Factory has the commentaries too, and they remastered the sound. The Scream Factory is the de facto, and the Scream Factory one had the work print that you could only watch on YouTube. So that was like.
Let me ask you something. Did you catch on the TV version? Did you catch the back of Freddy's jacket?
Yes, it.
Or did you catch that after the fact? It says TV version.
Yeah, no, it doesn't say fuck
you.
It
says TV version.
Oh, right, TV version, right? Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, it Dan O'Bannon did that on purpose, just to stick it to the censors or
censors,
whoever.
Yeah.
And that movie, I have the script from 1983. I read the script. I have the novelization written by John Russo, who wrote the original Night of the Living Dead movie. However, actually based on the Dan O'Bannon screenplay, which was a page 1 rewrite from the original Return of the Living Dead from 1978, which is really boring and stupid. And it's about like, it's not even worth, it's like a bus of football players die and come back, and it's so stupid.
Do you have the book, The Ultimate History of the Return of the Living Dead?
Yes, but I don't have the one. I know Jason is in one. He's either
I don't have that one either. It's the second edition of it.
So check this out, Joe. I am so obsessed with Return of the Living Dead that I have actually even gone as far. I've written a story for the Tarman. I wrote in my knowledge want to know so desperately who the Tarman was before he became the Tarman. I wrote a whole backstory that not only starts in the 60s but then runs concurrently, like what's going on when, like, with the Tarman when they're all out doing their thing.
That's interesting. So I mean, I technically, I mean, like, wouldn't he be a night zombie then? I never thought of it that way, but is that what you're saying, kind of? Or
check this out. This is my story. I'm sharing it here for the first time ever. I had someone who's, so here's the thing. I spoke to the guy Gary Smart who did are you familiar with Revenge of the Living Dead?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm aware of it, but I've never seen it.
So here's what's interesting about the history of Return of the Living Dead.
I don't accept most of the other movies, man. I'm a 1 and 3 guy.
Oh, 3 is like even more. I don't even get me started on 3 because I could literally talk about it for hours. Like 3,
I like 3.
Oh, I love 3.
3 has more to do with the Darrow Chemical Company idea to me than 1 does.
Well, it's a throwaway name in the first one. In the third one, they've sort of elaborated a little bit more.
Yeah, they don't say it, but
no, they do say it.
Do they in 3?
Yeah, in 3. As a matter of fact, the elder military guy. Boy, this is some nerdy shit right now. The elder military guy. I always imagined in my head that he actually used to work with the Darrow Chemical Company.
Me too, absolutely.
Yeah, and then he got signed on to the. I love Return of the Living Dead 3 for so many reasons. I can't, but to switch back to Return of the Living Dead for just one moment, they tried to sequelize Return of the Living Dead many times. Scuzz, played by the pedophile guy, what's his name? Brian Peck.
Yes.
He tried to write a sequel to Return of the Living Dead. Don Calfa wrote a sequel to Return of the Living Dead called Revenge of the Living Dead. That eventually got adapted into a comic book when Don was still alive. And then after Don died, it got redone with new art. And so that was, I spoke to the guy who put that comic out because I said, listen, I have my own idea for a comic. How do I license that? I want to license the name. I want to use the official Tarman. I want everything to be official. And man, he told me that it was a pain in the butt and that it cost way too much money. They did not make their money back. I still plan to write my comic. And this is the idea, Joe. Ready? This is the idea that I have. One, he taught in the movie, what's his face talks about, Frank talks about how the guy, the guy who made the movie, they would sue his ass. So he changed everything around.
Yeah.
My original idea is that the Tarman is a janitor at the VA hospital in Pittsburgh. They're doing some sketchy stuff there. They have the 2,4,5 Trioxin is there. I'm really glossing over a lot of things because there's a lot of details I don't remember.
I'm with
I don't want to. I'll graze over it. Basically, George Romero is in it as a radical documentarian filmmaker, along with there's a girl. I forget what the girl was. The girl was his, I guess. Oh, the girl was Barbara. Right, Barbara was the girl.
I'm
George
coming to get you, Barbara.
Right, George Romero and Barbara. George Romero uses Barbara actually to sweet talk the Tarman, who I forgot. I think his name was Johnny. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Sweet talks Johnny into opening up the security so that they can get in. So, because what they want to do is they want to document, because George Romero was like a radical sort of filmmaker, right? Like he's a real radicalized filmmaker. So instead of being a horror filmmaker, he's a documentarian filmmaker, making a documentary about what is happening with Darrow Chemical Company and yada, yada, yada. Long story short, the gas gets released. It's a whole thing in the hospital. The thing gets locked down. Colonel Glover is there to lock everything down, but he finds out that his brother is still inside. His brother is the Tarman. And what happens, long story short, next people get exposed. Tarman gets put into, Tarman's in love with Barbara. Romero survives, and he goes on to tell the story of Night of the Living Dead. Tarman's in love with Barbara. Barbara gets eaten. I think her brains get eaten or something. Tarman gets barreled up. And then when he's barreled up, this was my big idea.
The orders get crossed.
I'm sorry?
The orders get crossed.
No, Joe. Yes, the orders get crossed. But from the POV of the Tarman, he basically falls asleep and he has this dream where he and Barbara live in suburbia. And they have like a white picket fence. They have this really normal existence. And it's like a surreal jump into like, hey, everything worked out. And Barbara and I, we got married and we had 2 kids and we have a house and yada, yada, yada. And then something happens where all of a sudden he's still in his dream and suddenly there's a light that's shining in on his face.
Are you implying there's tar babies?
No, they're all part of his dream. He's dreaming when he's in the barrel. Then a light shines on his face, and that's Frank and Freddie. And he wakes up. And and then when he gets decapitated, his head falls down the stairs and lands upside down on a spike. And he's just upside down. And he doesn't really want it. He's kind of like bummed out that he has to he's like super. Oh, and that was the other thing too. I think that there was something.
Are you implying that he's conscious as Tarman?
Totally conscious, and he has a whole internal monologue.
See, that's the whole thing, man. That that's to say that all those zombies are conscious of their past life, which is more like tying to a Dawn of the Dead type thing.
A little bit, man. Now you're making me. I'm like forgetting so many details, and it's really bumming me out because there's something to this that I had that was extra. And here it is. It's called Return of the Living Dead: Tragedy of the Tarman. And I just want to get to the transition part. Johnny pulls Barbara away as everyone's consumed. There's no one really to rescue anymore. Outside, the fences and walls are erected. Sergeant Glover and the guy's name is Captain Peck. He's in Return of the Living Dead Part 3. So Glover and Peck know each other in this. Special troops with flamethrowers roast any dead that make their way outside of the hospital. Blah, 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 blah. On the phone, on the other side of the phone, Barbara pleads with Johnny to shut up. Johnny laughs at the coke rat. Right. Oh, yeah. Because Johnny oh, wow. This is really grisly. George tells Barbara he's going for help and to hold on because he loves her. He puts the phone receiver down and runs through the door only to be blocked. Right. And then Peck and Glover, blah, blah, blah. They explain a montage of armed soldiers take the corralling the dead takes place. This is what I wanted to show you. So Johnny hears them coming. He's ashamed and is disgusted with his actions. He's now a zombie. The moment he eats Barbara's brains, his rationale returns.
Of course.
A wire noose wraps around his neck, and 2 armored soldiers subdue him in a barrel. And then here's what I was talking about with the dream. Johnny wakes up on the couch. So he eats Barbara's brains and he gets subdued and put in a barrel. And then it switches to the dream. Johnny wakes up on the couch. It was a dream. 2 kids, his children, burst into the room and jump on him. Johnny is relieved. His wife, Barbara, carries a tray into the room. Paul McCartney is on the TV and with the rest of the Beatles singing Hey Jude. Barbara and the kids peel their TV dinner trays back and start eating. Johnny looks down at his TV dinner. The aroma makes his mouth water. He peels the foil back and the steam hits him in the face. And he looks down at a tray of tasty brains. The stream of steam doesn't stop coming. It slowly begins to melt his face off. Brains staring at me. So I guess there's a t-shirt of the Tarman eating brains on a TV tray. That's where I got that idea from. And then staring down at Johnny Glover through a plate of cracked glass is Frank and Freddie. They too are hit in the face and they fly back. Johnny liquefies more and more.
Oh, fuck.
What?
Oh, fuck.
Oh, right. Yeah. And I got to tell you,
these things are made by the U.S. Army Corps of Marines.
I got to tell you, that music, that theme, I played that with my son, which was such a fucked up thing to do as a dad. That theme is the most terrifying music of all time in the history of the world. It is, to me, nothing is more terrifying to me. Nothing sends a shiver up my spine like that theme. I thought it was so cool. I gotta send you the
Angelson version of that.
Yeah,
Angelson covered the whole score of it.
Yeah, you used it as music.
Yeah, it's repurposed as Mr. Monster's encore later. But yes, that is the Angelson version. But yes, it's the whole instrumental of the whole thing.
Wait. So here, let me finish this real quick for you. The story ends with Johnny the Tarman as we see him in his sorrow in the basement of Unita Medical. He regains consciousness. So this is after Freddie and Frank are unconscious. The Tarman regains consciousness and crawls out of his barrel prison to look for a way out of the dungeon prison, hoping to use a phone to call a cab. He is frightened by the sounds of the screaming yellow cadaver, followed by the dismemberment. So he hears that all upstairs while that's going on. He decides it might be better to hide downstairs until the people are gone. They leave, and he starts to feel the pain of being dead and the hunger return. He is disturbed by the rustling steps and eventual crash of Tina down the stairs. He can't get to her locker.
Third step.
But he settles for suicide. Once again satiated, the Tarman decides he's going to stop eating brains altogether and turn things around. He remembers Barbara and what he did to her. He goes over to the other Easter eggs and finds Barbara's barrel. So Barbara is in a barrel next to him. He tries to open it, but unlike his prison, Barb's is stronger. He hears voices upstairs and starts to get hungry and justifies a snack to help him refocus on his efforts to get her out of the barrel. The Tarman waits for the door to open, only to have his head come off. His body falls in place, but his head tumbles down the steps and lands upside down on a nail in a board. He listens as Bert, Spider, Casey, and Chuck speak with his brother, now a colonel, but he doesn't know that. And I guess he does know that. The Tarman calls to speak out to his brother, but his vocal cords were severed when his head left his body. The sad Tarman wonders what happened next. He also wonders what the contingency is, ... kaboom, the end. So it's like a concurrent story that's supposed to give you the Tarman's perspective and kind of fill in the cracks of what's going on in his mind. And I thought it would make such a fantastic one-shot comic book, but I don't think I can ever get it made because the licensing is just too expensive.
There's got to be a way around it.
Which is why I really appreciated, you showed me something, and I got to tell you, I really appreciated that. I really think it's great. I think you did a great job.
And
yeah, I think it's phenomenal, and I think it's like the B-side.
I love that movie, man.
Yeah, it's great. It's freaking great.
It's the most horror punk thing that ever happened to horror punk.
Yeah,
it's also so near and dear to my heart, and it's so much where me and my crew come from, man. All ties back to that movie, man. I always will tie back to it, and I'll always reference it, man. I never run out of ways to, and I'll never stop doing so. You know, like
create the Tar Dude. The Tar Dude is a fun mascot. Totally works.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't see I'm surprised that nobody took that moniker already.
Me too. That's why I call him Tar Dude, just not to get sued, man.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one stole that logo. I'm surprised that logo isn't on T-shirts.
They are sue happy. Those,
yeah,
the rights holders of Return of the Living Dead, they are sue happy.
Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't got stolen from some like independent company to like reprint stickers, patches, shirts, whatever.
You know what's really sad? There's even more unseen footage, and we're never going to see it. There's so much more unseen footage.
Yeah, more than the work prints, more than the
work prints
of what?
Just
like
very
specific scenes, or
I mean, the work print is kind of amazing. Just the fact that there's 24 extra minutes of footage is like kind of mind-boggling to me to begin with.
I can see why they cut a lot of it.
Well, you know what's interesting?
I mean, I understand it.
If you look at a lot of those shots, they're master shots, meaning that it's all 6 of them in the frame. They're basically doing like a play in the scene. Like when they're boarding up the upstairs, the door, like there's no coverage, meaning they don't like do any close-ups. It's just them talking in a big wide master. It's like kind of awesome. It's kind of like mind-blowing, like the way that they relied on the performance. They weren't relying on cutting to this angle and cutting to this angle. It was just about the people.